So this ADHD diet, that we teach our clients here at my office, this eating program, we put together over several years working with children and teenagers, adults, all with ADHD of one kind or another, and related kinds of symptoms. And so we want to thank the other professionals who have helped us, nutritionists, molecular biologists, and so on, who have helped through the years to put this thing together. And it's been used by hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people. We used to have this just free at our newideas.net website back in the day, and thousands of people would use this diet. And then certainly our clients, as they come into the office, we've introduced this to them. And we've had good feedback. And what we've found over the years is that about 25% of those who just do these simple things in our eating program get benefit from it. Some get so much benefit from it that they don't have to do any other intervention, nothing at all. They don't have to do medication, they don't have to do amino acids or neurofeedback, or they don't have to do anything. This diet is good enough. But for most people who get benefit from it, they just get enough benefit to make those other interventions work well. And so that's what we're going to go through today, is just show you, okay, step one today, what do we have to stop doing in order to have more success with the interventions that we're doing, in order to have more success in our treatment of attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. So really the first thing to understand, the first step in this, is to understand no matter what your treatment interventions are that you're doing right now, it could be a number of things. Prescription medications, synaptamine, which is an amino acid based dopamine booster, whether it's Attend and X-Stress, EEG neurofeedback, or other kinds of brain training programs that are available, whatever it might be. If you are eating junk foods from fast food restaurants, if you're eating a bunch of things that come out of cellophane wrappers, they are just not going to work as were intended to work. Any of those treatments can be very effective at treating ADHD, and the right intervention with the right person, you get a day and night difference in the change, a day and night difference as an intervention. But if we're eating junk foods that come from fast food restaurants, if we're eating junk foods at home, your expectations need to get a lot lower, because I don't care what the intervention is, it cannot overcome a lousy diet. It just can't. So step one in our eating program is simply this: make a commitment to stop eating at fast food restaurants. Some of you are ready to turn off this video already, but don't. Make a commitment to stop eating at fast food restaurants. The foods at fast food restaurants are not good for you. Just accept that. They're not good for your brain. They're going to make your brain fuzzy. The key thing that makes a human brain fuzzy, so if you already start with an attention deficit disorder brain and you're going to make it fuzzier than it is, it's not a good thing. But take any brain, really good brain, good functioning brain. What makes it fuzzy, you write this down, are carbohydrates paired with sugars. Now, carbohydrates by themselves just cause a lot of inflammation in the human body. Not good for the cardiovascular system, not good for different disease processes. Carbohydrates do that. And when paired with sugars, carbohydrates and sugars together cause the human brain to be fuzzier. So they cause people with inattention to be less attentive, and they cause people with hyperactivity to have less self-control, and they just make things worse for the ADHD brain. So we want to avoid, as much as possible, carbohydrates that are paired with sugars. And fast food restaurants are well known for adding sugars to everything to get you to come back and eat there again. So we want to avoid this as much as possible. Rule number one, step number one, make a commitment, stop eating at fast food restaurant. Now, step number 2 is we want to see if your child has some kind of a food sensitivity to something. Food allergy, food sensitivity, whatever you might want to call it. There are a number of kids that have problems with either casein that come from dairy products or gluten, which, a whole bunch of people have gluten problems. And frankly, I've seen people of all ages who have had a number of different diagnoses, a number of different problems, that when they went on a gluten-free diet for 2, 3, 4 months, their lives just turned around. And I have no way of predicting who that might be. But it's worth, over the next 2 weeks, as we do kind of an elimination diet here, getting things started, it's worth kind of just seeing if that might be the case. And so some of you may want to Google things like bone soups or gluten-free eating programs or whatever that might be. But man, I have seen kids that were just pretty extreme turn their lives around when the whole family went on a gluten-free eating program. They tried it for like a week. They saw terrific results out of it, and now it's just their lifestyle. So consider that. So that's step number 2, is we're going to consider if your child or teenager or you yourself might be having problems with gluten or with dairy products, with casein from dairy products. A third point, step number 3, just quickly consider, is that sometimes there are these environmental toxins inside our home that people react to. Now, I have seen 2 really off-the-wall things in the past 30 years of working with people. Just extreme things that you could not predict. I have seen a kid who just went berserk with a whiff of hairspray. Mom used hairspray, and if this kid just got a whiff of it, within seconds, the kid was just totally out of control. I'd never seen anything like it. And that's an environmental toxin for that particular child. And then the second thing that I saw was I had a friend who had a number of kids, and one of those kids was kind of hyperactive. So I suggested, hey, you might want to stop doing the sugars and the carbohydrates. And so what they did was they decided to substitute purple grapes for sugar. So grape juice for sugar when they were cooking, things like cookies or whatever. And this child had the most incredible reaction ever. Like, call the ambulance, take the kid to a psychiatric hospital, completely out of control. And it was from purple grapes. Now, all right, so there's a food sensitivity. And just like hairspray would be an environmental sensitivity, environmental toxin. So those are extreme examples, but I want you to be aware of them. That I've seen kids who just got totally spun up from orange sodas, Orange Crush, or other particular things that they were exposed to and they ate, and you just couldn't predict it. But it happened regularly for that kid. So I'd like you to look around your house for just possible environmental toxins. These are chemicals that you clean with. These are things that you use to wash clothes, wash bed sheets, and so on. Is there something that maybe your child is reacting to that's in your home environment that you wouldn't have guessed, but maybe it's a problem? And if so, just sort of look at that, just kind of ask that question. And if there's a question in that respect, let's try a different product or try very environmentally safe products and see if that over a period of 3 or 4 or 5 days makes a change in your child's behavior. So we've got make a commitment, no more fast foods. It's a lifestyle change, but make a commitment. Second, we're going to look to see if your child might have a problem with gluten, maybe casein. And then third, environmental toxins. You're going to just sort of walk around the house and just ask the question, is there something here that's really causing my child or teenager, my spouse, to have some real problems with their cognitive functioning? Now, fourth, I'm going to ask you to stop eating and drinking foods with aspartame, NutraSweet, equal artificial sweeteners in it. I've already said that sugars and carbohydrates are a bad thing. You're going to have to figure out how to reduce sugars, but you can't substitute these chemicals for it. Just can't. Aspartame, NutraSweet, it's not good for the human brain. And some people have decided that it's really kind of a neurotoxin, excitotoxin in the human brain. Whether it is or not, I've never done the research, but there's all kinds of people who think that it is. So I'm going to ask you, just for a period of time, like maybe a month, just make a commitment not to do diet sodas, not to do these things that have NutraSweet, aspartame equal in it. Just don't. And don't do it for a month, and let's just see if it's something that makes an improvement with the ADHD issue. And since the fourth point really is chemicals, with chemical sweeteners like NutraSweet, well, let's just stay on the whole idea of chemicals just for a minute. We'll call this point number 4. Other chemicals are preservatives that you'll find in, lots of stuff. And so I'm gonna ask that you start looking at labels. And in a label of the food that you're going to serve to your child or your teenager, or that you're going to eat yourself, I'm going to ask that if there's an ingredient in that food that you are unable to pronounce, that you don't eat it. That there are all kinds of preservatives that are put into all kinds of things that are chemical preservatives. They don't occur in the natural world. They only occur in factories. And they're put into our food. And for some people, they simply cause cognitive problems. So if you get turkey at the store, eat the turkey that says turkey and water. But if it has 15 other things on it that you just cannot pronounce, don't eat it. So we're going to try to go back and eat without chemicals for the next month and just see what kind of improvements that we get. Another one of these chemicals is MSG. I mean, it can go in anything. You don't have to go to a Chinese restaurant to get MSG. There's monosodium glutamate in all kinds of stuff. And they're called all kinds of other names for it too. So you find it in Chinese food, hamburger helper, frozen foods, salad dressings. It's found in foods at McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's, Taco Bell, Denny's, KFC, and more. So no monosodium glutamate either. All right. So step number 4 is let's just live without eating chemicals for a month. And let's see what happens. And here comes step number 5. The 5th step is just going to be, we're going to reduce all the sugar intake that we can. Now, there are some simple ways to reduce sugars a lot from what our normal lifestyle habits are. One is you got to stop drinking sodas. Sodas are packed with sugar. If you stack the sugar cubes up from a soda, they'd be a lot of sugar. And the second one is fruit juices. Fruit juices have a lot of sugar in them also. If you could just stop for the next 4 weeks, just stop. No sodas, no fruit juices, and just drank water instead. Just water. Just water. Your brain would love you. You'd have less sugar to cause kind of fuzzy thinking. And frankly, none of us drink enough water during the day. So that 8 or 10 glasses of water a day is a real deal. It doesn't matter how old you are. So we want to drink more water. Just cut out fruit juices, cut out sodas in all of its forms, cut out any kind of drink that has lots and lots of sugar in it, and let's just do that for a month. Let's see what we get, all right? And now the 6th and final step. So for the next 2 weeks, we're going to do what we would call an elimination diet. I've already asked you to stop doing certain things for forever, like NutraSweet, just forever. And other things, ask you not to do it for like a month. And then here's some things I'd like you to eliminate for about 2 weeks. And then you can add it back in and just see if it makes a difference. Just if you add it back in 2 weeks and these particular things are a problem, you'll know it in 3 or 4 days. Add things back in 1 or 2 at a time and do it a lot. Like for instance, milk, cow's milk. I'd like you to stop drinking it for 2 weeks. Just all the cows have left town for 2 weeks, and don't do cow's milk for 2 weeks. And then after 2 weeks, add it back in and drink all you want to drink for 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, 4 days. Drink all you want. Drink more than you want. And if you don't have a problem with cow's milk, you won't have a problem. But if you have a problem with cow's milk, you'll have a problem. Something will, splotches will break out on you. You'll have skin rashes. You'll see behavior just spike. You'll see people just, get really super angry or spun up or whatever. And then you'll know, hey, you know what? That particular thing, that cow's milk, might not be a good idea. Unfortunately, there are a lot of substitutes for that. So there's things like coconut milk. I like it. No carbs. It's great. Almond milk. Just lots of other substitutes you can find in the store. Cashew milk. That's pretty good, actually. So there's lots of substitute for cow's milk that you can try. Even raw cow's milk might not give you the same reaction as the milk that you get in your grocery store. So anyway, you're going to cut cow's milk for 2 weeks and then add it back in, and we're going to see if you get any kind of reaction to it. The next thing is fried foods. Fried foods are never really a great idea. They impact the immune system. If you're taking a lot of essential fatty acids, you might get away with it once in a while, but fried foods typically are not that great of an idea. And that's French fries, right? Onion rings, fried foods. So I'm going to ask you, just stop them for 2 weeks. You can add them back in after 2 weeks, but just know it's probably not a good idea even then to add them back in. But we want to see if there's like some kind of a sensitivity to them, some kind of reactivity that there might be to fried foods. Yellow foods. This is a surprise, but there's a certain percentage of people, it's small, it's like 1 in 500 or 1 in 1,000, that just have a real problem with foods that are yellow. It's the yellow coloring in the food. So that's corn. Hey, a whole lot of people have a problem with corn anyway. So, so for 2 weeks, we're not going to eat any corn. Yellow squash? No. What else is yellow? I don't know. But yellow foods, we're just not going to eat them for 2 weeks. Bananas are not yellow. This is the most asked question that I've had over the 30 years of doing this. Can we eat bananas? They're white. Don't eat the peel. That's yellow. So just don't eat yellow foods, including corn, for the next 2 weeks, and then we'll kind of look at adding it back in, see what we get. Chocolate also goes on the 2-week list. Chocolate has like 200 different chemicals in it. It's amazing. You gotta love it. The milk chocolate's gotta go, but the really good dark chocolate, just don't have it for like 2 weeks. And then add it back in a little bit, a lot, but you want to see if you react to it. If you don't react to chocolate, life's good. But if you do react to chocolate, it's going to be a little bit hard for you. There are some other things to look at too that you may need to eliminate over the 2 weeks, and you may need to eliminate forever. Breakfast cereals and milk. Breakfast cereals are almost all carbohydrate and sugar. Makes your brain fuzzy. And if you have a problem with milk, it's the trifecta for the ADHD brain. It just doesn't do well. So so what are we gonna eat? Well, that's what next week's video is going to be all about. But you can get through over this week. You can do this. So foods that are bad for the human brain, we're just going to eliminate them. Look at gluten, see if that's a problem. Look at casein, see if that's a problem. Look at fried foods, see if that's a problem. Stop going to fast food restaurants. If it comes in a cellophane wrapper, please don't eat it. If it comes in a cellophane wrapper and says like Twinkie on it, don't eat it. We got to stop eating foods that are high in sugars, high in carbohydrates, and have preservatives in it that you can't pronounce. So we want to avoid chemicals as much as possible. So that's a step one. This is the first video. And then next week, we're going to come back with, these are the foods to eat. We want you to eat these things in order to optimize the functioning of your brain. I'm Dr. Doug Cowan. Thanks for watching.